Hello, hello, and welcome back to the show. I have a guest. Her name is Joyce, and Joyce is a self-healing master. And we are going to talk about her experience with the punchline approach and in the community, at retreat, with the coaches, all of the things that have transformed your life in the last couple of years. And I just want to give you the opportunity to celebrate it publicly. I think it's been so fun to watch you, to watch what I say, coming out of your shell, or discovering your true identity, breaking free. What would you say if you were to, in one lump sum, what would you call it?
Transforming, breaking free from the life that I had that was so restrictive and so pushing me down, and to be able to be free from that. And just, I've talked about being able to fly, and I really do truly feel like I have been lifted up, and I have wings, and I can do pretty much anything now. And it is just very much a relief. And I'm very joyful to be able to live my life in the freedom that I now have.
Can we go back to a couple of years ago in the state that you were in, the position you found yourself in? Like you wake up one day, you're like, just paint the picture.
Okay. Well, I've been on this new path since the summer of 2018, which was when I left my husband, because I just couldn't live in that environment anymore. It was killing me. And I knew that I had no choice, but I had to take care of me. It was very difficult to leave. I had some grandchildren, step grandchildren, and I had been a very integral part of their life. And I had a couple of dogs that I was very attached to. And I just like, sorry, but I got to. And fortunately, I came back down here to Louisiana, where I've lived before, and I had a nice group of support. I had a nice support group with just previous friends and family. My son lives here, so that was the main reason I chose to come here. And I also felt safe because it's a distance away from the other place I lived with the old relationship. And in the past, I've had other relationships that ended similarly. And I had to take care of me and just remove myself from the setting, and to a distance where I couldn't cave and go back, or have him knocking on my door and that kind of stuff.
So important, right? Because it's such a big step. And then our brain keeps wanting to go back to that old comfortable familiar, even though it's killing us,
Yeah.
How long were you married?
I was married for 18 years.
And how old are you at this point?
I am 66.
Yeah, so that's a huge jump.
It was my second marriage, and I had stayed single for 15 years in between. So I had been part of an Al-Anon program and 12-step programs, and thought I had done all the work. And then I was able to just go out and find somebody else. And I found the same old crap, only in a different format. So,
okay. And hold on a second. Let's stay there, because this is so what we do. Mm-hmm. The same old crap. We think we can eject the circumstance and free and clean, and we don't realize that the patterns of our mind will recreate it if we don't clean it up.
Yes. Yes. There were some very, very destructive patterns in my own thinking that led me back into that kind of setting. I was in a victim mode. Didn't realize that I was bringing that on myself. In fact,
never want to hear that, by the way.
Yeah, I almost did it. I stayed as long as I did because I did not want to go through a second divorce. And I kept saying, well, I might as well just stay in this one, because if I leave this one, I'm just going to find another one like it. And finally, I just said, well, I want to have a happy retirement, and I'm not going to live like this anymore.
Can we talk about this for a second? Because I know some of the listeners are going to understand this. I didn't want to be seen as a failure, a second divorce. Like, how long did that thought or that belief keep you in this position?
Probably 18 years, because I pretty much knew from the start that it wasn't right. It wasn't working, but I didn't want to admit it. And I just put my nose to the grindstone and said, I'm going to make this work.
Hmm.
And
Because you believed or you were told that it was forever, or if you committed, you need to, what was,
because I wanted it to work. I wanted to be married. I wanted to have a husband. I wanted to share a life together. I wanted to build dreams together. I wanted to, I wanted to have companionship and everything. And it just wasn't right pretty much from the start. And I tried to make it into what I wanted it to be, and it didn't work.
Mhm. And then you come back to Louisiana, you reconnect with old friends, you somehow stumble into our community. So let's
Well,
take it.
Peggy and I were colleagues. We taught together 20, 30 years ago, whenever that was. And we've maintained contact over the years. And so we've been lifelong friends. And so Peggy kept talking about, about the time I got down here, she went on a spring retreat with you, and she had posted it on Facebook. And when I read about it, I was like, I want to experience that. And I like immediately signed up. And she was like, what? You signed up? She was like in shock. And from that point on, that was like stepping out and saying, I'm going to do good things for myself. I deserve it. And that was the foundation of being able to build on that. And also, the money issues that come up with when you're doing good things for yourself and you feel guilty for spending the money, and I should be doing this or I should be doing that. No, I just said, nope, I need to do this. And believing that, I started by that point was getting the picture that a lot of our financial issues are because of the way we think too. So that's been another big area that I have had to do a lot of work on.
All of
But
us. It's so, like, seriously, I think most humans, no matter how much money you have, we still like, because it's like been pumped into our mind that is, you better be careful. You better be, someone, even like retiring and putting it in the wrong place, someone can take it, you could lose it. The market could, for all that, we've been taught this over and over and over. And the older we get, the more afraid we are, right? Because then we start thinking we're not capable of making, like we don't have enough time to make more.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I just went through that whole process. I was doing some coaching with Peggy, and like I said, we've been lifelong friends, so she knows me really well. And she would tell me, you have worked through more stuff in the 6 months. I don't remember how many weeks it was that we did this, but maybe it was 3 months. She said, and I know it's like I was determined, and having her who I love and trust and who knows me, and loves me, I was able to make commitments to do the things that I needed to do, to take the steps that I needed to take, and to do to really learn how to apply all the tools that you have laid out in your book, the punchline approach, which I got exposed to right from the get-go at that first retreat that I signed up for. But honestly, I don't think I really read the book for about the first year. I kind of dabble in it.
Yeah.
And I just kind of picked up things here and there. And I was doing all kinds of stuff with you guys, and just really connected to the group and felt like, wow, it was a real support for me, because I had left. I was down here pretty much on my own. I was living at my son's house, and I was kind of out in the country, so I wasn't really circulating much. I was working on all the divorce paperwork, which in hindsight, I really did that the hard way. Really did it the hard way, where I was thinking I had to be the one that had to go through all the paperwork and come up with all the stuff and feed all this information to the attorney so he could go out there and fight for me and get what I needed.
That was control, right? Like so
I
much.
doubt that he ever even read any of it, because in the end, he kind of threw me under the bus. And then I'm going, damn.
But we do what we know. We do what's available to us. Like we do what we can in the moment. And when we can really stop beating ourselves up about what we should have or could have or what we missed or didn't, like that's really where this work comes in. It's like if we can keep returning to presence,
Right. And then ultimately, really just rising above all this jabber and realizing that the bottom line was God was going to continue taking care of me just the way he always has, no matter what I do or don't do. I mean, God is going to, if I'm open and I am trusting God, he is going to provide me with everything I need. And I'm here to show you that I'm living in a townhouse. I have a brand new car. I do have a limited income, but I have gone the work with Peggy and did reviewed all my finances, got with a financial advisor, reset everything where it's going to be, where I will have what I need. And I still have some, those scary moments of like, well, what if the things I invested in don't work out, blah, blah, blah. Or,
It's just
I,
thoughts.
I have a car note now. And so I'm readjusting my budget again and going, well, I think I really want to do, for the last 6 months, I've really been kind of figuring out what do I want to do, because I'm not bored. I love to read, I write, I am practicing some drawing and some photography. I have a couple of grandchildren around here and lots of friends. Of course, with COVID, that's kind of put a damper on all the social activities that I could be part of if that wasn't going on. But I kind of lost my train of thought.
Yeah, I was like, what? So let's just talk a second about like the experience that you opened up to. Like, what did retreat open for you?
I got to witness what the process of being involved in the coaching setting was like, and you would work with different people you'd say, okay, who has something they want to work on, and you would be in the hot seat, and then you would kind of walk through all the steps in your process with them, and everyone else was holding space. And the thing I learned from that too was that even when someone else is getting coached, that you can benefit from that so much, not only just by being there for someone else, being part of that connection, but also knowing that what they're going through in some format or some level is probably something you've experienced or are going through or wondering about yourself. So it's a pretty amazing process going through the coaching.
Yeah, the fact that you can get transformation when someone else is in the hot seat.
Yeah.
So now you are in Self-Healing Masters. So we'll talk a little bit about Self-Healing Masters, which is the container that we continue to do this work in on a personal level. It's basically your lifelong coaching world, where we have this community. And I just want to kind of get your feedback on what's the experience been like for you in Self-Healing Masters.
From the get-go, it was serendipity. I think that Self-Healing Masters was starting up right about the time I had just finished my my most recent coaching pack, and I just again, kind of like when I've decided to go on the retreats, both with you, and then Danielle has had a couple of retreats, and I've been on her retreats. It's like I just know that you just get that inner knowing, this is something I need and I'm going to do it and it's all going to work out. I'm not worried about the money. It's going to work out. And it has. It's just amazing. So I'm not sure what I was leading up to.
Yeah, we're talking about Self-Healing Masters, but you're taking me to something else. So I'm like, okay, hold on. Let's stay with this because it is so fun and so exciting. You've had so much transformation in 2 years. There's a lot to try to nail it down to one thing is probably going to be impossible. And so we can kind of weave in and out of the story. But my question was, how has the Self-Healing Masters experience been for you, being in a container with the coaching, with the process, being live every week?
It has been a lifesaver with it being during COVID. The connection started last June, I think it was, where I kind of jumped in on the morning meditations that you've been doing. And that gave me a sense of I'm not alone. I have these other people. I had people that cared, that listened, that, we did a little social kind of how's everybody doing kind of afterward a lot of times. And that was just a lifeline for me. That, and then when I got into the Self-Healing Masters, I am just blown away. I am learning and I am growing, and that is so marvelous because for the last 20 years previous to this, I'd been giving it all away, taking care of everybody else and neglecting myself. And that was my childhood drama, was being from a huge family and not getting any real personal attention. And the siblings we just kind of pushed each other around, and we got through it together the best way we could. But I ended up having a lot of patterns where I just neglect myself. So this has been, and that was one of the things I knew when I left that relationship, is I have got to focus on taking care of me. And so I have made myself a priority, and being part of the self-healing masters has just been such a rich environment for learning and growing. It's like there's so much learning going on. I have a hard time keeping up, but it's exciting. This is really exciting.
You used a word that I've been using these last couple of weeks just now, and it's rich. I'm like, our community is so rich. The work is so rich. Like
it really is.
Oh, it's so good.
It's like so deep, so many levels to it, so many different aspects of what we're learning about ourselves. When you brought in the human design, and we're learning about our different the way we function, and what kind of energy we have. And it's just really amazing. It's just very transformational. It just gives you so much more dimension, really, so much more dimension to expand out and explore it and discover what all is available to you.
It's like the perception opens up to exploration, and suddenly you're just like in wonder and awe and what else and what else and what else. And that's what I was going to ask you. It was like when you just said whatever you just said earlier, and I said, oh, you're taking me somewhere else. It was that recognizing that your ego, your strategy and authority of human design, that number one, you're a 6'2", and like waking up at this stage in your life, like how impactful that is. But the other one was being a projector and having that ego authority, which is, in the now, in the moment. But how many years did you not trust that?
Most of my life. Being a projector, I function a little bit more differently. And a lot of people just wasn't understood, or people would kind of put me off, kind of like, where's she coming from? What's she talking about? So I have some kindred spirits that I've gathered up along the way that have helped me sustain my life.
It's kind of funny though, right? Because as a projector, like you have something to share, you want to share, but no one hears you if you're not invited. It's so frustrating. And you said that you were trying to, like, you were actually telling people what to do, like how to do it, like how to treat you, so you were kind of onto it. You just had that piece missing of waiting to be invited to speak.
Yes. And because
share what you share.
I grew up in an environment where if you wanted something, you had to grab it or you were going to lose out. There was always a lack, and there was always like, you had to kind of take care of yourself because nobody else really had the time or the energy. And so if you didn't speak up, you went without. So I kind of live by that. And it's kind of like, okay, I'm not going to be left out. I want this and I'm going to go for it and I'm going to make it happen. So I had this epiphany one day when I was walking in the neighborhood going, oh my God, I have lived my whole life trying to make my life happen. And now I realize all I have to do is let it happen. What a difference.
So good.
Let it happen. I want to live the life of ease and grace. Oh my God. It's just amazing. Different.
For those guys who don't know about the punchline approach, I have to tell you in this moment, there's 5 steps. It's actually 3 action steps, but 1, you got to get present. You got to start unpacking those limiting beliefs, your lifelong beliefs, all of the patterns, the generational structures, all of that stuff. You have to unpack that so that you can understand it. And then you have to start navigating around the habits and behavior. You have to change. You have to interrupt the old pathways, the neural pathways that you think are truth. You have to change that trajectory. Once you do those 3 steps, then you create the vision of what you want from here. Like, what do I want to experience in my life? What do I want to create? And you create that vision. We do this at retreat. You create that vision in your mind and you bring it on board in the emotional body so that you're in the vibration of it. You're seeing it, you're witnessing it, you're letting it go all the way through your bone marrow, all the way through your cells, and you vibrate in it. And then you take the action steps from how to create it, which is you choose the vision. And that's what Joyce did. She chose that I am going to take care of me. I am going to live for myself. And then you got to commit to it all the way through, non-negotiable. And you said that I needed to move far away so I would not go back to the old habit. So I wouldn't go back to the old comfortable. And so it's like you want to commit all the way to yourself, to the vision, and then you cultivate it as if it were. And that's the community, is having the community that treats you as the new identity. I think that is the secret to self-healing masters, because you can create change, you can move, you can change your thoughts. But if your environment is still treating you as the old person, then your brain, your pathway, you go right back to being the old person. So you cultivate it as if it already happened, and you continue doing that every day, and then you get your brain coached. So that's the punchline. That's the punch. And the line is what Joyce just said. It's living your life's legacy as an integrated being on all levels: mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, financial, occupational, intellectual, and then in your natural essence. That's where you are now, discovering your design, doing the coach work with Peggy, the retreats with Danielle, the retreats with Peggy, coming to the calls, all of that stuff. That your natural essence is now expressing in ease and flow.
And
Ease and flow.
speaking up for myself, and even though I know I have to wait for an invitation, like you have pointed out to me, Kim, it's like you are getting invitations and you are right. I just have to be open to them.
Well, and you're not used to looking for them, right? Now that you know your design and now that you understand, and it like everything started making sense to you. So now your brain can relax, your nervous system can relax. You can drop the victim, you can drop the old stories, and you can see it from a different perspective. That's what the change I see in you. And I realized at the beginning, and I want to talk about this, is I'm a little tough. Like I scared you off at first. You were like, I don't know about this, right? I created that defensive wall that came up in you, right? Like,
yeah, I was pretty defensive.
I was a bit, what would you say? Not buffered. Kind of sharp.
Well, you were always just really excited and really knew that you had something important to do and you were about to do it. You really did come, you would show up even when very other few people were showing up, and you just kept going. So your determination has been a great role model for me.
And I remember one day in meditation, you said, you've softened a lot. You're more approachable.
Yeah, I really, I've seen you growing too, Kim. I mean, that's the benefit of having an ongoing conversation, like within our group. We really are getting to know everybody on an intimate level, and sure, those walls are going to kind of start dropping, and we're really going to get a little more comfortable with each other, and we're going to be more accepting of each other, and then the walls drop, and everybody softens a little bit, and we can just really relax and support each other, be there for each other, and watch each other grow. It's really exciting.
And be in our authentic identities. To me, that's the most beautiful part, is that discovering your design, discovering your inner essence, and working through the shame of showing up as her, because it is the shame. The shame is everything that we're running and hiding and defending ourselves from. We don't want to be seen raw and vulnerable and as ourself. We'll say, like, in undressed, whenever we don't have the mask. I don't mean naked in our clothes. I mean, when we take the mask of who we've been pretending to be according to our family, our environment, our work area, whatever it is, you take that mask off, and there is a risk of rejecting the true you. That's what is
That
so
is a risk. The the whole point of being able to just live my life, just let my life unfold is so novel to me, and that it's really okay. I have a lot to give. I'm still working through a lot of things. Being the age I am and trying to kind of create a new life for myself. And it's like, I'm not just an old woman. I am a woman that has a lot of experience and has gained a lot of knowledge and has a lot of deep understanding and compassion. And I have a lot to offer people.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
I
we
could
want it.
just,
I have an urgency for the world to show up as their true self so you can play the part that you're meant to play for humanity, for us all to come together. I think it's so important to shed the mask, those identities that are not us, those old belief systems.
it's such good news that it's okay to be me. All I have to do is be me and be real, because I've always wanted to be real, but every time I try to be real, people would shut me down. So now it's like, okay, finally the universe has kind of evolved to the point where it's okay. You can come out now. You can
Oh,
come out and play.
you can come out and you don't have to make anything happen. Look, this is an invitation. Like, hey, would you come on and talk, like, just talk about your transformation? Let's talk about the story. Let's talk about the work we're doing together. And you know why it's important to me? Because there are people over 50 years old who are in a separate life from the rest of the world, who are by themselves, especially this year, who don't know they have a place to go. They don't know they have a community they can belong to. They are disconnected, and that creates depression because of the loneliness. And I think it's so important to share with others that there is a place that you can come and be yourself, and you can come and you can commune. We can break bread and wine. We laugh. We joke about the stuff that we tell ourselves, it's like, it's a beautiful place to come and be a human.
And the people in Self-Healing Masters and in the coaching community are so loving and so accepting. I mean, I'm a lot different than a lot of y'all, but I mean, everybody's like, oh yeah, Joyce, come on. We want you here. It's like, wow, it's just so good.
That's the
It's fun.
invitation. Oh my God. Come on, Joyce, come over here. We want you here. Like, I want to know how that feels.
You're going to make me cry.
I want to know how that feels.
It feels amazing, almost too good to be real. But it is real. And I have been experiencing it going on 2 years, and nobody's kicked me to the curb yet.
Does your brain tell you that I might do something wrong? I might say something wrong. They might not like what I do. Is there?
No, I'm more judgmental of myself than other people are of me. And that's part of my work too. I just did a little exercise with my sister, who's doing a lot of learning as well. And just really focused in on what kind of self-talk, what does my inner voice sound like?
Mm-hmm.
And I was just blown away. It was so eye-opening how I talk to myself. And she'd say, Joyce, that is harsh. Yeah, would you ever talk to me like that? Would you talk to anyone else like that? But when you come to the understanding of this, I'm the one that's holding myself back. I'm the one that's now, there's nobody else around me putting me down, but I'm still doing it to myself.
Yes, that inner dialogue. Unbelievable.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And
But I'm
that, like,
so excited that I'm so aware of it now. And I know I've already changed it a lot and continuing to do the work. And I'm just like thrilled that I don't have to be kicked. And, I mean, it wasn't physical. I never had any physical abuse in my life, but the emotional abuse that I've gone through my whole life and that I had continued to torment myself with, it's like, hey, let that shit go. You don't have to live like that anymore. Thank you, God.
Mm-hmm. That's like at retreat when we do that little exercise where we look into each other's eyes and just hold the space and, just look and it's like for someone to really look at us and love us and accept us is so hard. Like, I see you as you are, and you're welcome here. And we want you here. And we want more of you. We want more of you on board. It's so humbling.
Yeah, it is.
And when we have these stories, this inner dialogue telling us we're not good enough, we're like, you're right, we wouldn't talk to anyone else the way we talk to ourselves. And once you're onto that and you're in the awareness and you can call it out and you start stepping into the truth of what you're seeing, and we quit rationalizing and excusing and, living in an ideal relationship, something we made up that's not even true, because we make it up in our head and we wait on it, especially as 6-2s. We see the higher potential in others, we see as the visionary. And so we're waiting on it because we believe in it so much.
Wow, I hadn't even thought of it that way, Kim. That's really big. Thank you. Yeah, I have always kind of like made it be what I thought it could be because I could see the vision of what it could be, and then just disappointed because it never played out the way I wanted it to.
6-2s are disappointed because of the vision. We have we hold that vision, and we see so much potential and possibility, and then we expect, and so, but once we're onto it and we recognize, then we can actually like love the visionary in us. We can love that belief in humanity. We can love that future that we see. And that's the difference between what you saw with me 2 years ago and what you see with me today, that you said has made such a change, is I was in this urgent mode. I felt like time, like it was kind of like when I had kids at home and I needed them to know that like this was a sin and this was wrong and this is going to get you in trouble. I had this urgency to save them. Like I only had so much time. Right. And I felt that with the coaching community. I was like, we have to get this out there. We have a 28% suicide rate here. And it's like week after week after week after week, we were burying people. We just buried another like 30-year-old mom of 2 kids, like a couple of weeks ago, and an 18-year-old before that. And so I had an urgency that I had to hurry up and tell the world. But then I'm realizing as the 6-2 visionaries, actually, we can see that, but it doesn't mean that we have to create it or make it happen. And when I was able to like do that stop, the SOS, stop, so I can see that this sensation of urgency like is coming from my thoughts, and open to explore. Is that true? Do I need to, because I was trying to break people through stuff so much faster than their physical bodies could even handle it before, their nervous systems couldn't even handle it. But I didn't know. I was just thought that everybody could get this like now. And then the stay. So it's, for those who are listening, it's this stop so you can see what is happening, and then open so these sensations can come forward, because otherwise you're going to react to them and say and do things that you don't really want to do to try to control. And then you stay for 90 seconds. So you stop, open, stay. In 90 seconds, these sensations will pass. And then you're not reactive, you're more responsive. And that's what you detected. And that's the work I was doing, that you detected the difference, that you're like, oh, you're actually so much more approachable. But at one time it was like you came to yoga, right? And it was like I was straight up and to the point and, without that exposing first and explaining and educating. So we all have work. And I love that about Self-Healing Masters, that I am with you guys doing the work. I'm not the guru. I'm not the one who has it all together. I am showing up in human form, and I'm doing my work as my design. And we're learning and discovering it together.
And the healing that's ongoing is priceless. It's just absolutely priceless.
What's been your biggest aha, like your biggest awareness? Because you've pretty much done everything now. You've done my retreats, you've done Danielle's, you've done Peggy's, you've done coach packages with Peggy and Danielle. You've done
coaching in the group. Yeah. Self-Healing Masters. You got to show up. You got to be real, and you've got to commit and make this important a priority. And in taking care of yourself, then you have so much more to give to other people. And it's not a chore to give it. It just flows out of you instead of like you forcing it. And I'm going to do this for you and you better appreciate it because I'm exhausted now.
How have your relationships
Oh,
changed?
it's still a process. I still have a hard time saying no to my grandson in particular. He was here yesterday and I had said he could spend the night if he wanted, and I was anticipating that he could spend the night, but his mom was going to come and get him. And then she said, well, he can stay with you all day if you want, and unless you have something going on. And I said, well, I do have a recording session with a friend of mine doing a podcast, but he can go upstairs and he can occupy himself. But see, the thing is, the people who know me and know that I'm always like, have a hard time setting boundaries. They're like, no, it's okay. You don't, I'll come get him because he needs to come home. And so once that, I saw that happening, it was like, oh, why do I have such a hard time saying no? I just, I guess because I lived so far away for so long. I just want to get as much time with him as I can.
Yeah, and our conditioning, we talk a lot about emotional manipulation, and that even though it's not in that relationship, if it's been in another relationship, we bring that fear with us. In other words, when we disappoint someone or we say no, and then they get upset with us and don't talk to us for a while, and we live in those kinds of relationships, even though we're talking to a friend who would never do that, that samskara, that memory in the body is still there. So whenever you're going to tell even someone like, and trust, no, that the mind will say, but what if they won't like it? What if they won't like you? What if they'll be mad? What if they won't call you again? What if they won't invite you again? And then we kind of go into this panic and freeze. And then we say things we don't want to say because we don't have access to our frontal cortex. We're coming from that worry part of our brain. Is that
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for outlining that for me, because I don't know that I could have put that in words. But thank you. That clarifies it for me.
Yeah, it's just like the way we relate, the way we have interactions, these old stories, these old belief systems have emotional triggers and scars in our body. And so when we don't want to hurt someone's feelings because we're afraid of what that's going to do, and we bring that into, so that's something that we continue learning and doing and, bringing up. It's just awareness. And I love the 4 agreements for this. It's like
Yes.
not taking anything personally, asking questions instead of making assumptions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The generation I was brought up in is you weren't supposed to ask questions.
Right.
And you weren't supposed to bother anybody. So those are really old hurdles that I'm still getting over.
Those are the generational patterns.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes up our belief system, which we call the BS. We're like, we're going to call BS on that one. That's kind of one of our key things. Like, I call BS. That is a belief system. Well, I thank you for coming on, for sharing your experience. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you would want to tell someone else that you would want to invite to come and join us, or just anything about the process or the container, the meditation, anything? You do it all.
It's really a safe place. The Self-Healing Masters is just, it's just so open, and yet at the same time it's safe because we're all working kind of on the same issues, maybe at different times, but we're all humans. So we all have the same basic issues. So we really have a lot more in common with everybody than we ever thought we did. So it really bridges that gap to where you really do feel a connection, even with different personalities. That doesn't matter. That's
because we have different ages. We have different, like there's a lot of generators in the group, but we have projector, we have reflectors, we have a little bit of all the variety, but everyone's in their proper place as themselves. And so it gels so beautifully, and like for you in particular, being a projector, like I kind of watch and scan the group to make sure it's like, oh, you need a direct invitation, right? This one needs to reflect for us, and this one, needs to respond. And so we ask and and treat each other from that perspective. I think that makes a difference. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's still taking a little getting used to because it's so new to us, but it's definitely a gift. Really is a gift in self-awareness and also in receiving from other people. because that's another big area that I haven't been very comfortable with receiving. I've always given and given and given till I didn't have anything more to give. But now I'm letting kind of it come in and feeling like, oh, I've got some energy now. Yay, I can do things.
So good. All
My
righty.
stamina is building as well. So I can say, you know, I think I'm going to be successful in having a happy retirement.
Yeah. So this is to those who are at any age, especially if you find yourself alone or not like in a big transformation kind of change where your environment has changed. You don't have that, what would you say, like that familiar environment that you were used to, right? Because it came at that kind of time for you. And I know this is for many people. There are so many people I have talked to who have realized through this COVID transition that they're not in the relationship they want to be in, because that slowing down and not having so many distractions has bubbled up all of the stuff that's not working. All right, my friend, I'm going to end this. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Oops, I missed the appreciate it. Stop.